have a great show for you today with a lot of fun things, but we are going to begin on a serious note. On and on and on and on it goes. Every day another one, at least another one. Sexual harassment, misconduct, assault, even rape. This is the morning news these days. The numbers are growing so quickly, it's hard to keep track of all the men who have been accused of not just sexual misconduct, predatory sexual behavior. Movie producer Harvey Weinstein, you've heard about that one, now accused by at least 65 women of misconduct over 3 decades. Former Fox News host Bill O'Reilly, who reportedly settled at least 6 harassment claims to the collective tune of $45 million. One for $32 million right before Fox News renewed his contract. Famed screenwriter and director James Toback, behind such films as Bugsy and The Pickup Artist, remember that with Robert Downey Jr.? This director accused of harassment by over 200 women, stars and others, including our own Natalie Morales at NBC. He's denied the allegations. Not to mention, it must be said, President Trump, accused during the campaign by a dozen women of misconduct or sexual assault. He denied it. Former President Bill Clinton, repeatedly accused of sexual assault. He denied it. Even 93-year-old former President George H.W. Bush is now accused of inappropriately groping 2 women on the backside from his wheelchair, for which he has now apologized. But there are others coming forward, so many others. Celebrity chef John Besh, CEO of the Besh Restaurant Group, according to more than 25 women, they fostered a culture of sexual harassment. He's now apologized. This is all in the past week or two. Photographer Terry Richardson, famous for his celebrity portraits of Beyoncé, Lady Gaga, now infamous for his alleged sexual exploitation of fashion models, claims he's denied. The UK's Sunday Times calls this guy the Harvey Weinstein of fashion. Television producer Chris Savino, an animator at Nickelodeon, who was fired by the network last week after repeated accusations of sexual harassment, as well as threats of blacklisting female colleagues who were no longer in consensual relationships with him. Art Forum magazine publisher Knight Landisman, who resigned yesterday, hours after a lawsuit was filed here in New York accusing him of sexually harassing at least 9 women. You still with me? Okay. Television executive Roy Price, who resigned from his post at Amazon Studios amid allegations he sexually harassed a producer. Veteran magazine editor Leon Wieseltier, who admitted offenses against female colleagues at the New Republic magazine. Several women had said he humiliated them with unwanted kisses on the mouth. Dozens of women this week from the California and Illinois state legislatures who in open letters detailed alleged harassment they have suffered while in public service. And then breaking just this morning, journalist and NBC political analyst Mark Halperin stands accused of sexual harassment. According to CNN, which broke this story, 5 anonymous women have come forward with stories of his alleged misconduct while working for ABC News more than a decade ago. Halperin has said, "I am deeply sorry and I apologize." MSNBC this morning putting out a statement that reads, "We find the story and the allegations very troubling. Mark Halperin is leaving his role as a contributor until the questions around his past are fully understood." So where does this go? Where does this leave us? Where does this leave us as a society? What does this say about relationships in the workplace between women and men? And what are the men supposed to do? Men who are terrified right now at whether they're going to get hit, and what they've done in the past that they don't know was illegal is about to come back to haunt them. Today, we've invited back attorneys Gloria Allred and Douglas Wigdor, lawyers at the center of a few of these many cases. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Are you feeling it? Yes. It's unbelievable when you roll through it like that. It's promising because women are speaking, Gloria. They're speaking. In July of 2016, when the scandal broke at Fox News with Roger Ailes, I would talk about it, and I would go give speeches. And all the women in the audience would be like, mm-hmm, yes, uh-huh. And the men would look uncomfortable, like, what? Holy. And now we're all talking. What does it say about the state of America that so many women have these problems and have been keeping them secret for so long?
Well, what it says is women have found their power, and they're not going to be silent anymore. They're going to stand up for themselves. They're going to stand up for their daughters and their sisters and their mothers, and they're going to break the silence and speak out. And even more than that, Megyn, what they're going to do is they're going to learn what their rights are. They're going to attorneys. They're going to find out if they still have rights they can assert. And they're moving forward. They're breaking out of that fear. They're moving forward to find out which legal options they can pursue, and they're pursuing them. And I'm so proud of them for that, because they're helping to win change for women in the workplace.
It takes huge guts. It takes a lot of guts. There's a reason all those women went to CNN anonymously, Doug, and that is they're afraid. They're afraid. There is safety in numbers, but not that much safety. And you know, women are still worried about being targeted. How do we strike the balance? Because not every man who gets accused is guilty. You know, I don't want to rush to judgment on all these men. Some women do make false claims. We saw that, you know, repeatedly in the past couple of years. So how do we strike the balance between getting them to report, but still remembering men have rights, due process rights?
Right. And frankly, for every bad report, for every person who claims they're a victim and not a victim, that undermines the actual true victims. So it's really important for us as lawyers to really vet these cases before we come forward with them, to make sure that the factual allegations are accurate. But picking up on what Gloria said, there have been so many silent sufferers out there. And now that people see people stepping forward, they have the power now to do the same.
But how? How? Because we talked about this. A lot of places don't have a meaningful HR department. That's how it was for years where I was. But look at these women in Hollywood. There was no HR. Who are they going to go to complain on, this famous director or Harvey Weinstein? There's no HR. So what do?
Well, they consult sexual harassment lawyers like me, like Doug, like others. And that's what they do, because then they can have a confidential conversation with a lawyer to find out what, if anything, they can still do, what they should do.
And if more women are coming to you, if people know that this is an option, then you're sort of the person who can put together the pieces. Like, you are not alone.
Well, exactly. And yes, and a lot of women are sharing with me about names that are not yet in the news. You rightfully read a whole list of names of men who are being accused. There is a whole list of high-profile men who are not yet accused publicly. And some of those names will be released in the future, because this is the tipping point for change. And women are speaking out, but I want to assure them they can have a confidential conversation with an attorney. And then after that, they can decide they don't want to do anything, they don't want to speak out, they don't want to assert their rights, or they do. And that's because they don't have that confidential conversation with an HR person.
For so long, we've just taken it. You know, I mean, honestly, if you feel comfortable, raise your hand if this has ever happened to you in some way, if you feel like you've been sexually harassed. All right, so there's a fair amount out there who are saying yes. It's been happening for so long, and I think women just suck it up. They suck it up. It's like, and it's not just women. It can happen to men, too. Like, this is the cost of doing business. He's going to look at my ass. He's going to grab me. He's going to say something inappropriate. I've got to shrug it off, lest I be perceived as someone who can't play with the boys.
And I think it's really important that you do speak to an attorney, because whether you're going to go public or not is a separate issue. You don't, not every person goes public, but the reason why it's important to speak to an attorney is that you can map out your strategy. So employers have policies, and those policies are designed to protect the employer.
The employer.
So, yes.
The employer.
And so so in some policies, if you, for instance, you don't complain internally, you would be barred from bringing an action ultimately.
Which makes sense, because the company needs notice. If you want the company to do something about it, the company must know. They can't protect you if you're not saying anything. That's why we all say, you know, got to report it, got to report it.
Yeah, but some women fear reporting it to their company.
Of course, all women fear.
Right, because they're afraid that the company will not be neutral, will not do an independent investigation.
I'm familiar with that.
Will side with the
We're all
valued employee.
That's why I've been saying HR, it's nice. We have to say it. Yes, it'd be nice if you could do it, but it's scary, and women know it doesn't always go their way, and then the next thing you know, the next contract, you're not really doing as great a job as you were, and you can't prove that it's because you complained.
And so when you're mapping out that strategy with your lawyer, there are ways of going to human resources or to your boss. You know, lawyers can't recommend, for instance, to a client that they record a conversation, but in many states, there's a one-party consent rule where the party can record a conversation. That's
like New York.
That's like New York.
Right,
so
but
that's
not other states.
Not California. That's
so that's a tool There are ways of saying things to HR, to ask them questions that you can get responses that will ultimately help you.
And there are a lot of lawyers who do this pro bono. So
Yeah,
if you're thinking, I
exactly.
don't have the money, there are a lot of lawyers who will help you pro bono, meaning
No,
free,
no
free of
charge.
charge.
Exactly. And by the way, women need to know there are risks in speaking out. So because you could be sued by a high-profile person, and then you have to spend a lot of money defending yourself. So again, consult a lawyer
I would
if you
say
think you're
here's this.
speaking out before you do.
The number one thing, I mean, you hear about, and you know, Mark Halpern's admitted some sort of regret over what happened in his case, but the stories about what he did to the women, as reported by CNN, are of him coming up to women in his office who were just asking him for opportunities while at ABC, and him rubbing up against them aroused. I mean, you're sitting in your chair and somebody... Now, what I want to say to women is, remember that no is an available option to you. You can get up and walk out, and you can say, no, sir. And you will be in the right. And even though we're not in the room with you, when that moment comes, we are with you. You don't have to take it. And I think too many women don't know that. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Doug. You too. And we're taking your feedback on this. You can contact us on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Megyn Today with your stories and your comments.